Hello YouTube, Dave here again. In the recent pickup video, I mentioned that I got the Ruins of Symbaroum Bestiary book. I actually sort of ordered it by accident. I wasn't really paying close attention to what I was clicking on, and I thought that the Bestiary was another supplement for the regular Symbaroum role-playing game, as opposed to the 5th edition D&D version of it, called Ruins of Symbaroum. However, because, the mistake was made, and I wasn't looking to return the book or anything like that, I decided to essentially double down. So I then placed orders for the Ruins of Symbaroum Game Master's Guide and the Ruins of Symbaroum Player's Guide. So this is the core rules for the Ruins of Symbaroum from Free League Publishing. So this is their 5e version of the game. The actual Symbaroum role-playing game is interesting in that it's a system where the players are the only ones to roll dice. Like the DMs never, or the game masters, they don't roll. They will tell you sort of like what the difficulty is, and that can adjust your success threshold for your skills and things like that. So rather than, making the monster making an attack, right, you roll to evade their attack, and it's been a while since I've looked at it. I really do want to check it out again and spend a little bit more time with it. But it is an interesting system, and I like the idea of not needing to roll dice because, I can either roll really crappy or really good. So like to take that out of my hands, I'm totally fine with, just to sit back and, weave the story and all that stuff. But yeah, so I picked up the core rules for the 5e version. So this does use the 5th edition D&D rules. Things like the combat mechanics and stuff are not going to be included in these books. You would need access to either like the player's handbook or even the basic rules that you can get from D&D Beyond for free. So you don't have to have a paid subscription or anything to it. You can have a free account to get the free basic rules. I'm not sure if there's a way to download it outside of D&D Beyond. There used to be, but I don't know if there still is. But regardless, you don't need to necessarily have a whole host of 5th edition books. Like I said, you can use the free rules if you need them, or if you're already like a veteran of 5th edition D&D, then these books will really give you everything that you need. So we're going to go through these a little bit here. I'm going to spend most of my time with the player's guide because I only got these books yesterday, and these are the books that I have looked at the most. Or this is the book I've looked at the most. So we'll take the other two and set them off to the side here for the moment. And we'll just take a look at the Ruins of Symbaroum. So again, the basic setting seems to be that like there was this massive empire or massive empires that have sort of declined or fallen and are in the process of trying to rebuild. But it's more or less feels like the points of light in an unforgiving wilderness. You do have the woods of Davokar, and it's kind of neat because some of the monstrous species that you can play come from the woods, like this giant menacing dark forest. But there's one race in particular that when they emerge, they are completely wiped of any like memory or initial personality, so it's up to the humans that they interact with to sort of instill values and stuff like that into them. So there's some interesting stuff kind of going on with that. To explore the woods, you do have to acquire like an adventurer's license, which you can purchase one that can cover like a group of individuals. Not every ethnicity or background requires it, but there are some that do. And anyway, it's just, like I said, it seems like an interesting setting. I just haven't spent a lot of time with it. But we do get some really good setting information right at the beginning of the book here. There's the adventurer's license. But what I want to take a look at are some of the not optional, but some of the new rules that you use in the Symbaroum version versus the regular 5th edition D&D version. So the first one would have to be the way that rests are done. So your short rest is pretty much the exact same as it was before. So you can, take like a 10-minute rest, an hour-long rest. And I ran a Pathfinder game recently, that's why I've got the 10 minutes on my mind. But you take an hour-long rest, and you can spend hit dice to get your hit points back. But you can also spend your hit dice to reduce what's called corruption, which is another new element in this game. We'll take a look at it here in a moment, but essentially, like, especially for spellcasters, that's how they cast their spells, are by gaining points of corruption instead of like having your traditional spell slots. So you do reduce temporary points automatically, but you can also spend hit dice to reduce them further. A long rest requires 8 hours, 6 of which must be sleeping, and the other 2 are light activity. So again, you recover hit points equal to the maximum value of your hit die, plus your constitution modifier. So in Symbaroum, a long rest does not grant you everything back. Like, you don't get all of your hit points back. You basically gain whatever, if you like. So if you were rolling a d10 for your hit die, you would get 10 plus your con back for hit points for resting for the 6 to 8 hour, or for the 8-hour rest. But you don't get everything back after that. You reduce your temporary corruption by twice your proficiency bonus. You can spend 1 or more hit dice to recover hit points, and you can also spend them to reduce your temporary corruption by your proficiency bonus, as well as being able to do some automatically as well. And then we've got the extended rest. So this is your 5e vanilla long rest. So if you do an extended rest, which is 24 hours in a safe place, and again, that's important. So you can go out into the woods and into this forest, and you can explore, and you can find these ruins, and you can even rest overnight, but you're not going to get the full benefits that you would if you were playing just the basic, D&D 5th edition rules. For this, you basically have to be back at, again, what's considered a safe place, which effectively is like civilization, or somewhere that's so well, guarded and protected and comfortable that you can get the extended rest in. And that gives you back everything. So you get all your hit points, all of your hit dice, and your temporary corruption becomes 0. So then we got to the corruption and shadow. So your shadow is basically like an aura that surrounds you, and it's not something that everything can interact with, but there are certain creatures that may be attracted to certain, auras and things of that nature, and as you gain corruption, it darkens your aura, right? The kind of thing. And if you take on too much corruption, then you start to show like physical signs of it. But again, what's kind of interesting is that, for example, spellcasters. We'll put a pin in that for now. We'll take a look at some of the character options here. So we do have the abducted humans. So these would be abducted, I guess, by these are humans that have been abducted by the elves and sort of been raised in their society. So they increase their dexterity and wisdom scores by 1 each, and then get to add +2 to any other attribute. So some races in this book will give you more bonuses than others. So this one gives you a fixed +1 to dex and wisdom, and then +2 to put in any other ability score of your choice. And they also have their own unique backgrounds there. And I apologize in advance. We are deep into allergy season. The pollen outside is insane. Like, my wife's car is white, but right now it looks yellow. So I am dealing with that. It is a bit of a struggle, so I apologize. Part of it gets me like stuffed up and kind of phlegmy. So I apologize if I have to clear my throat a little bit. I'll try to remember to pause the recording while I'm doing that, but sometimes it happens mid-sentence. All right, so up next we have the Changelings, and these guys are kind of interesting because they can start with the ability score increase, which gives them +2 into their wisdom, and then +1 into one other attribute, or they can, instead of taking their ability score improvements... Oh, wait, no, sorry, that's wrong. You get those automatically, but you can take the change self feat if your group allows feats. So, again, this is based on the 2014, where feats were optional, but you were always pressured into allowing them. And I always felt like, even though I didn't like the original 5e feats, I felt like I really couldn't say no to their inclusion, even though they were technically optional. But yeah, so this one allows you to take the... so you don't start knowing how to change forms or shapeshift, but you can do it as you progress in level, which is pretty cool. And again, they all have their different backgrounds here, so... and some of the different species might have a skill, like an attribute bonus that might be tied to a specific background. So again, there's just some things to that here. Dwarves, what's interesting is, so the dwarves here Obviously, they seem to be a little bit different than your traditional fantasy dwarves because they increase their intelligence by 2, and then 2 other attributes by 1. So they're more cerebral than necessarily like hardy, like they are in traditional 5th edition D&D. Again, I haven't read too much of like the actual individual like write-ups for the different species, but it's something I'm definitely going to look into because that automatically intrigued me. And then elves actually get an increase to their wisdom score, and then 1 other attribute gets increased by +1, and then we got their different backgrounds there as well. We got our goblins. So again, the art style is very different than kind of like traditional D&D. And then we've got humans. So the humans get +2 to your strength score, and then you can increase your dexterity, constitution, or charisma by 1. Are these the ones that get... Okay, no, they don't get the attribute bonuses based on the backgrounds. There is one race in here that does. I just forget which one it is. All right, ogres. So yeah, ogres, they're the ones that come out of the Davokar woods or forest without any like identity. So it's kind of like, depending on who they encounter first can dictate kind of what they become. So their constitution score increases by 2, and then you get to increase any other attribute by 1. And then... Okay, no, I guess I thought they would have been the ones that had the attribute increase as part of their background, but maybe not. Maybe it's the trolls. I don't know. But you can play a troll as well. They don't have the regeneration, but they do have things like tough skin, which is sort of trolls can withstand more hurt than most other creatures when rolling for hit points. Roll the hit die twice, take the higher result. If using the average result, use 6. So. Yeah, it's kind of cool. We got them there. Geez, I'm starting to think maybe I was just making stuff up now. Undead. So you can play as undead in this game as well. Maybe it was some of the classes that did that. I really thought that there was a race that gave you a bonus to your attribute, but I suppose not. I guess I was just wrong there. For classes, we've got the captain. And they've got different approaches, is what they're called, sort of their subclass options. So Merchant Master, Officer, Outlaw, Poet, Warrior. We have the Hunter, Bounty Hunter, Iron Sworn, Monster Hunter, Witch Hunter, and then we got the Mystics. This is the class I wanted to kind of focus on. So the Mystic here, their approach is... it's the one spellcasting class in the Symbaroum, or Ruins of Symbaroum game. But their approach basically tells you like which spell list that they can choose from. So there's, and I think we can see it later on. Do we have the different approaches listed here just to make things really easy? So they got an artificer or artifact crafter, a sorcerer, a staff mage. There's a thurge as well. I don't think it actually gives them here, though, because they... yeah, I don't think it gives them... Oh, no, there's the staff. Yeah, there's the staff mage. Okay. And then the third. Okay, so yeah, those are the different self-taught sorcerer. So again, what's kind of neat about the Mystic class is you can see here they've got cantrips and then spells. So you begin the game... spells. So at first level, you know 6 cantrips of your choice from the spell list that's based on your approach. And then you start with 2 level 1 spells. You also have and then I think when you gain levels, you also add... when you gain a level in the Mystic, you learn another spell, which can be any spell of your list up to your spell level maximum here. So this table here gives you your favorite spells. So with favored spells, because again, there's no spell slots in this game. So the way that you cast spells is you gain corruption. And, you know, the Mystic class can take more... I think their corruption threshold is higher than some of the other classes just because they interact with it so much more. And the different approaches also have different philosophies on how, like, corruption is, you know, handled. So some of them may take it on more, like, be more apt to use it regardless of the negative side effects, where some are more reserved. But again, at first level you can choose 2 cantrips and 1 favorite spell, and 1 level 1 spell, or just 1 spell, because you can change that, I guess, as you go up in levels. But normally when you cast a spell, to cast a spell you take an appropriate action and gain temporary corruption. A cantrip causes 1 point of temporary corruption, while a leveled spell causes 1d4 plus the spell's level points of temporary corruption. However, with your favorite spells, cantrips don't cause any corruption for the ones that you choose as your favorite, so you get 6, but 2 of them you can choose to not have, to not gain, like, corruption. And then you choose one of your 2 first level spells, and instead of getting a d4 plus the spell level, it's simply just the spell level. So instead of it being like 2 to 5 points of corruption for casting a level 1 spell, if you're casting your favorite spell, then it's only 1 at level 1, and so on and so forth. So at first level you select 2 cantrips and 1 leveled spell. When you cast your favorite cantrip, you gain no corruption. When you cast a leveled spell, a leveled favorite spell, you gain corruption only equal to the spell level. Each time you gain a level of Mystic, you can make more spells favored, as shown on the Mystic table. The first number is the current favorite amount of cantrips, and the second is the number of leveled spells. When you cast a favorite spell at a higher level, you add the new level as corruption instead of the base. So if you were to use, like, Fireball at level 5 instead of level 3, you would gain 5 points of corruption instead of 3. Which I think is actually... Is that the one that they use there, specifically? No, okay, just third and fifth, but yeah, so... certain spells are poorly researched, unreliable, or on the edge of dark sorcery. These spells cannot be favored. Unfavored spells are marked with an asterisk in the spell list found beginning on page 187. So, again, it's kind of cool to see, so you don't have spell slots, you can take on more and more corruption, and again, like, the corruption can start manifesting itself physically in ways that will make people very uncomfortable to be around you, but in a pinch, you can always draw on those dark powers to cast more spells if you need it. It's actually kind of a cool approach, and I like the idea of it simply because it is a risk-reward type of thing, and, like, it's definitely, I guess, moving away from the Vancian magic, where you can only channel so much magical energy, per day type of thing. Like, you know how to manipulate these forces. It's just a matter of you can do it safely a certain number of times per day, but if you go beyond, it starts to have some other, complications or negative aspects to it. And they got, like, the staff mage that's proficient in, like, fighting as well, so you don't have to be, like, the helpless wizard that you are in 5e most of the time. If you're out of spells type of thing, you can still use your melee weapons. So again, some cool stuff here. And so that's mostly kind of what I've been looking at. I haven't gone too much further into this game, but we do have, like, the other class. So we got the Scoundrel. It's basically your rogue type of class. They do have their backstab. It's nice to see it called backstab, but it works the exact same way sneak attack in 5th edition. But the different approaches, again, can be kind of an interesting variation on these normal rogue type of class. And we got the warrior. So this one has, like, the berserker, because barbarian's not it's not a class anymore. It's just, like, I think the captured humans tend to be, or the kidnapped humans, I think they tend to be more like barbarian, and it's more like the way they were brought up. But we do have the berserker, which does give you, like, the rage ability. You got the duelist. I think you got the knight in here as well. Yeah, the knight, the runesmith, the tattooed fighter, and templar. So you get quite a bit of variation here. The wrath guard, and then we got our feats. Again, I haven't gone through these too much, but again, with 5th edition, the new 5th edition game incorporating feats, in my opinion, far better than the original 2014 D&D. I would be more inclined to allow these as is. And you got, like, class-specific feats. You have origin feats that are based off of the race that you choose, and then we got some equipment stuff in here as well. I like that there's a entry for bribes and a right of debt, so you can actually, like, basically take on debt to help equip yourself. if you're going into a bad situation. And there's the what do we got? The armor here. It's actually kind of neat because you got like your light armor, and then you've got your crow armor, which is a medium armor, which is basically more or less like kind of shoddily constructed, almost like scale armor. So medium armor is more expensive than light, which is the main reason many warriors have picked riveted and bound together so-called crow armor of their own. So it's cheap. Yeah, it's cheap, but far more difficult to move around in. So it's only cost $5, so it's the cheapest. Like it's basically the equivalent of 5 gold for a medium armor, but it does have its drawbacks. But I just thought that was kind of neat to have a medium armor that is super affordable. Which, you know, again, like one of the things that I think D&D struggles with, and it's struggled with this since 3rd edition, is, you know, you've got these armor categories, and typically, there's only one option that's really worth taking from the entire thing, right? So, like in 3.5 D&D, for example, it would be like studded leather or chain shirt for light armor, and then it would be breastplate for medium armor, and then full plate for heavy armor. And it was never worth taking anything outside of those unless that's all you could afford at level 1. But you would quickly want to move on. Like if you were wearing medium armor, if you couldn't afford breastplate immediately, like that's the first thing you would do, was try to get that. And again, if you were wearing heavy armor, there was no point in using heavy armor unless it was full plate, right? So, and I think 5e is kind of the same way. It feels like they're different armors of the different categories. So there's some that just aren't worth taking, and I'm hoping that they, did a better job of trying to alleviate that here. But again, I don't know. I just like the idea of like a really cheap set of medium armor, but it's kind of like shoddily designed, and that's why. Yeah, so we got those. We have the equipment and services. Beverages, alchemical elixirs, artifacts. Not the same type of artifacts as like the things like the Hand or Eye of Vecna. It's a little bit more subdued than that. I guess relics might be a better term for it in terms of like D&D, the D&D lexicon. So here we got our lists for the different spells categories for your spell approaches. So we have Sorcerer there. We have the Third. So again, the Third is like the Cleric, so they would have access to the Cure Wounds spell. The Troll Singer has got a... Yeah, I don't know if they'd be more like Ranger-ish type of stuff, but they're not all like one-to-one, like comparisons, but the Third is very much the divine spellcasting type of the class. So if you want to be like a healer, then the Mystic class would be the way to go. Well, it'd be the only way to go, but the Thirds, I guess, would be the way to go. And then we got our spell descriptions there. So again, not going to go too deep into that, but I think we just have the spells, and that's the end of the book. We do have our character sheet there as well. And so this is the book that I've spent the most time with, but we will take a quick little look at the Game Mastery Guide. Just kind of flip through it a little bit here, give you an idea of what's inside, and we'll flip through the Bestiary a little bit and take a look at that one as well. So again, I haven't really looked at this book very much at all, so I can't say too much about it, but there is a built-in adventure, which is really cool to see. Right there, we got some optional rules if you wanted to put those in there as well. The world, so some setting information, advice on designing and running campaigns or adventures, different techniques, so the Deus Ex Machina, introducing an arch enemy. So yeah, again, this is just not... I don't think this book is necessarily required to run it, as much as like the Dungeon Master's Guide might be required for regular 5e, but this does give you information on like the setting, how to incorporate the players, how to design adventures and stuff like that. So it gives you an idea of how to like integrate the flavor into your campaigns there. So again, looks like some interesting stuff to kind of go through. Lots of tables. I know there are folks out there that love their tables, so we got plenty of those in there. Ruin details. So this might actually be for like designing almost like stuff on the fly. Expanded missions, monster hunts, building game worlds. So again, just sort of like your adventure building sort of advice book, but really cool stuff. Like I said, I haven't really looked at this one too much, so I can't say a whole lot about it right now. But you know, I wanted to get it to go along with the other two books there, and of course we've got the bestiary here. So we got the Symbaroum monsters. So Hordes of the Eternal Night, and again, I like the presentation here as well, because you do get, you know, again, stuff like these pages that look like they're from either a journal or like a letter, crumpled up letter found on a dead Arak, slain in the depths of Dovakar. So these are like spider folk. Bestial, Colossi, Colossus. So corrupted nature. Darkling. So again, it's just some cool stuff. I love the artwork in this too. Like Free League's artwork is really, it's really stylized, but it's really cool. Like I really enjoy this. Got a lindworm. We do have a dragon. And we got just a giant angry bee. Glimmer adventure setup. So in addition to just like having the monster stats, so we got the glint. It gives you like ideas on how to create adventures around them. So just a little blurb, not a lot, but just a nice little added thing there that goes a little bit above and beyond, which is kind of cool to see. Because again, like you could do like these monster hunt type of scenarios, so that gives you an idea of how to sort of go about that. You got the King Toad. Living Thorns. Manigal. Marlet. Neferani. Nightmare. So not the undead horse, it seems like. When a nightmare is not possessed creature, yes, a little bit different than like the fire horse that we kind of think of with traditional D&D. Night Swarmers, Ravenous Willow, Scorner, Skullbiter. Is that what that says? Yep. Skullbiter Queen, Crusher, Sly River Hunter. It's a big old lobster. Delicious. Spite. Troll Shadow. So again, I love the artwork here. Vengeful Terrain. World Serpent. And then we got Beasts and Monsters. So we have different categories that they're broken down by as well. So we got Abominations, Amphibians, and Aquatics. Another giant lobster. Herbivores. Predators. Blood Cat. Fey Beast. Maracat. Let's see what the next category is here. Oh, okay, we're gonna skip past the spiders. Crypt Lord, Wraith, Snow Wraith, and Necromage, Winged Creatures, Dragonfly, Hornet Swarm, Wraith Owl, and then Adversaries. So these would be kind of like your NPCs. We got Elves, Lords of Ambria, Ordo Magica, so different, I guess, organizations or factions. Outsiders, Pickpocket, People of Dovakar, so we got the Goblin Warriors, Queen's Ranger, Village Warrior, Vengeful Witch, or sorry, not Vengeful, Village Witch, Keeper Witch, People of the Queen, I don't know if it's going to give like any of the leaders though. We do have the Queen Spy, Townsfolk, the Drug Peddler, the Artisan, the Drunkard, the Guard Dog, Self-Taught Witch Hunter. That could be fun to work with. Different trolls. So yeah, the ogres are the ones that have no memory. Adaptation and expansion. Okay, so I guess this is just how to maybe create your own, or how to modify the monsters in the book. Haven't looked at this one too much, or maybe like adapting regular D&D monsters into this one, maybe. And then terrain features, something which kind of gets overlooked in some of these monster books. So it's kind of cool that this is in here, because it can give you ideas and some of the rules and mechanics that might go along with where some of these creatures have their layers. And then using other resources. Original Symbaroum. Okay. So yeah, I guess like information on how to convert monsters. Recommended OGL monsters. Yeah. So again, there's some cool stuff in here. I really am interested in giving this a try. I do have a couple of the Symbaroum April Fools. The Andric was initially an April Fool's joke, and the creature doesn't play any role in the official products from Free League. Whether or not you use it in your particular game world is entirely up to you. Oh, you can actually... Okay, so yeah, these are like the Mallard people from like Dragonbane. You can actually play Duckfolk if you want. As something that was an April Fool's joke. That's really, really cool. Or are they more like a platypus? Because they have a paws. Is probably the most peculiar. Descendant of ordinary ducks. Okay, no ducks who were deformed by dark powers. Okay. But yeah, that's a cool inclusion. Something that was just meant to be a joke. But they put it in there for you to try it anyway. So, again, I haven't spent a lot of time with this. But I have to say, I'm really impressed kind of with what they've done here. I like the idea of the corruption. And, you know, how spellcasters manipulate and interact with corruption in order to cast their spells, but how you're not limited necessarily per day by regular spell slots. And again, it's just how much corruption are you willing to take on. And there are drawbacks. Like if you absorb too much, like bad things will happen. I might do a separate video on it when I have had more time to read fully the corruption mechanics. From the the player's guide here. There might even be some information on it in the Game Master's Guide as well. I'll have to take a look at that. But when I have a bit more of an idea, I will definitely be revisiting this. As far as 5e D&D goes, I love the idea of, the extended rest being the one that gets you everything back, but being far harder to come by because you have to be in a safe environment, which basically means you have to be back at a town, at an inn, or at a home that you own in order to get that level of rest in. But yeah, really cool stuff. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping to give this a try at some point in the future. I might try this with my online group. I'm not entirely sure yet, because we are looking to go through different RPGs. So I think I'll add this one to the list that we can go through there. Anyway, my puppy just came down and he's staring at me, so I think he wants something. So I'm going to wrap this up. But let me know in the comments below, have any of you picked up Ruins of Symbaroum? If so, what are your thoughts on it? And let me know some of the experiences that you've had with it. Anyway, thank you all so very much for your time. I appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care.